How do you think crossplay is going from what you've seen?
I mean, there've been a few bugs about sending friend requests on day one, which made people crash. But I mean, it's day one stuff that's bound to happen. And honestly, I had a longtime buddy of mine called Stuart, aka Receptor, and he has been in Peasant Guard for years and years now. He's a really good friend. And he jumped in on my fire team the other day when I was just casually going to the EDZ so I could get something from Trossland. I think it was the new Ascended Anchors. And the amazing thing about that is he's an Xbox player. And he has been divided from the rest of the clan for years. And, for the longest time it was the case of, we're going to get him a PlayStation. We did eventually get him a PlayStation so he could play with us. And then Shadowkeep happened and everyone moved to PC. Now there is no division. That alone in itself is kind of incredible, because the amount of bonds that people have been able to reignite and the amount of friendships that I've seen celebrated through crossplay, it has a very different kind of feeling. Destiny now feels like the game it should have been, as far as being able to play where you want, with whoever you want. And I genuinely do feel really excited about this idea that I could sit down on a sofa and go ahead and pick up a controller at the end of the day, and I wouldn't need to be at my work PC, but I could still just chill and play some Destiny. And I could still have my 60 FPS experience. I could still play with someone who's on PC. I could still jump in and do Crucible with them if I really wanted. And this is the strange, really weird dream that I think Destiny players are just waking up to, and it feels a bit surreal. I don't know about you, dude, but just seeing people on the roster and then seeing the little Xbox symbol next to them, or the Steam symbol, or the Stadia symbol, because we have one or two of those in PG. It's totally weird to me in like the wackiest, most wonderful way possible.
Destiny at its core is one of the most social games out there. It's like the social is what all the Bungie leadership always praise about the game. The social elements is absolutely the bread and butter of Destiny. Obviously, it's a great game, but what has made it what it is today are the social features, the raiding, the fact that it kind of forces and requires you to communicate with other people, and it makes the game so much better than just like playing by yourself. It's not a very solo friendly game, as we all know, and it's so much better. It's obviously playable and very good solo, but it's infinitely better when you have people. So, and like you said, with Shadowkeep, a lot of like I myself, most of us moved to PC just simply because it just looks so much ridiculously better. But obviously it did definitely fragment, like my friends list just dwindled so much because I used to play all the time on PlayStation, and so it's good to just have it's just in the year 2021 it's nice to see games as a whole just going into this kind of crossplay, and the platforms don't have this kind of I don't want to say greedy, but just like hyper competitive, like us versus them. Like, it's nice to see the platforms playing ball a little bit more. I think Fortnite was, I think it's kind of a fact, Fortnite was kind of instrumental to that, in terms of the game was so ridiculously big, it forced all the platforms, because Sony and Microsoft obviously didn't, I think it was more on the Sony side as well, weren't very open to crossplay. I think Sony, like back in the day, were, but then Xbox weren't. But then when Sony got the leg up, and with this PS4, Xbox One generation, because they had they sold more, they didn't want to share with Xbox, because they didn't want to share their player base with what they saw as the smaller one, which would be being Xbox. But Fortnite forced their hand by being so big and such a huge game. They were like, if you don't add this is just a detriment to the entire just gaming as a whole, and the biggest game in the world is going to suffer if you don't. So they kind of forced the hand to make crossplay a normal thing. And since then, you've just seen more and more games it's just the normal thing. Like, again, back in the day, back in a time that we remember very well, it was the idea of crossplay, playing with someone on a different platform, was alien. Imagine a PlayStation player playing with an Xbox player. It's just like never going to happen. So the fact that it's normal now is so nice to see. And we got cross save back with, was it Shadowkeep when they got cross save?
It reminds me of the craziest cross-save story I heard, which is they got confirmation from Sony that they would allow cross-save through PS4, and they got it something like
the night before,
2 days or 24 hours prior or something like that, because Bungie said, if you don't agree to this, we're going to launch it, and we're going to, effectively, they said, we'll lay the blame at the feet of who it's meant to be laid at, which is yours.
Yeah.
Because literally, it was a case of Sony just dragging their feet, as was the case with a lot of things. You know, with Rocket League, they sat there and their literal quote was, we will do it, we just need Sony's permission to literally pull the lever, to push the button. Like, it's built out, it's ready, it's capable of happening, we just need Sony to say yes. And it's hilarious to see them buckle under the weight of some of these franchises with their player bases and say, like, okay, fine, we'll do it, but only because you forced our hand, you know? And now that we're in this generation of crossplay, I think that we're actually going to look so much better for it. Because for one, you know, when you can play with your friends and you're sitting there and you're all having the same fun experience, you care a whole lot less about what platform someone's playing on, you know? Like, I think it's going to be less about console wars, which has never been about, like, healthy video game companies having competition. It's more about toxic, obnoxious fan bases.
Yeah,
but also,
pretty much.
If companies now want players to buy their hardware, you know, the PlayStation 4 or 5 or whatever it's going to be next, the Xbox One or Xbox Series X or whatever it's going to be next, something from Nintendo, something from Google on the Stadia side, Lord forbid that we get something new on that front, you know, we are going to be looking at a very interesting place where suddenly the game companies have to, I don't know, build hardware that's got good games on it if they want me to play. You know, I'm still waiting for a game on my PS5 that's going to make me pull it out and play it regularly. You know, I have a lot of hope for some of their upcoming titles, but, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, there's nothing immediately now that makes me want to play it, you know? Like, Miles Morales, maybe, but that's it. That's it. Like, there's not much else. There's almost nothing else.
I mean, as is the case with a lot of business and just enterprise, the competition is good for the consumer. It's good for us, the end users. So us playing the game and just, it's in our best interest. Obviously, the companies don't like it because it makes them have to, okay, now we have to play ball with these other companies that we didn't really want to. But as players, we all have a much better experience. We all get to play with, doesn't matter whether it's on a PC or Xbox or Stadia or your PSP, whatever you're playing on, you can just hop on and just play that's all that matters, just play the game. It always used to be such an obstacle. Like, I remember in school, just, it would always be the case of, I mean, pretty much almost everyone in my year played on PS3. And there are a few people that played on Xbox, but it was always that kind of division separation. And again, that's where I come from. That thought of just like the idea of those two playing together is almost alien. But it's just nice to see, again, for the end user, for us, it's just a win-win. I'm sure the companies don't like that because it forces them to have to be, now that it's all, the platform doesn't matter. Now all that matters is the game. And also there's no game exclusives anymore, which is also very good for us. It's just a case of just let the best game win. It's just a pure just meritocracy of just, doesn't matter the platform. Let's just make a good game, make it playable, and doesn't matter what platform, what physical piece of plastic and metal you choose to play it on. Just make a good game and let us play it with our friends and stop with all the console wars and competition and platform this and exclusives, and just let the marketplace dictate what we want. And yeah, like I said, Fortnite was a great example of that. It was just so big and huge, it just forced the entire industry to change, which was very interesting, I thought.
And brings it back to the most important thing about video games, which always should be, are you having fun? You know, like, is this satisfying to you?
Yeah, your time is valuable, and you got to be spending it well, especially in this day and age when there's a billion distractions and pretty much every single device and app and thing is just competing for the same thing. Your attention, your eyeballs, just keep scrolling, swiping, watching, just keep you glued to whatever screen that is. And they're all in competition with each other. Netflix is in competition with PlayStation, in competition with YouTube, in competition with Hollywood movies industry, with music, Apple and Spotify. Like, everything is just trying to just get your attention and keep you watching. So they all kind of need to bend around the consumer to a certain extent, because it's all just like, end of the day, you spend in this day and age, you spend, especially in the past year, you spend a lot of your time looking at screens. So it's a case of which what pixels are you looking at on that screen? What's able to get your attention the most? So you need to, my point with that is that you need to respect the consumer's time, because if you don't, they're just going to play something else or watch something else or read something else or listen to something else. So yeah, it's very important that they just kind of play ball and just let the consumers dictate how do you want to spend your attention.
And aside from anything else, this is a time when people can very easily walk with their feet as well as their wallet. You know, if you sit there and you're, you know, if you sit there and you're a bit of an asshole as a company, people are going to be very much not willing to go ahead and buy your products. You know, like whether that's something like, say, Fortnite going ahead and copying Among Us, which is putting people off of anything that Epic Games is doing, whether it's back in the day Steam's policies for allowing absolute garbage on you know, green light programs that it was running for indie developer games, which were actually just crowding out legitimate indie games with a load of nonsense that was just there to make a quick buck. Whether it's Activision with the recent allegations and the lawsuit that was brought by the state of California with regards to workplace conditions, you know, people are able to walk with their feet really easily, man. And if you're just, you know, regardless of whether you're anti-consumer with them and you just have really bad practices, or whether you're just a bit of a dick, you know, people are going to go ahead and leave your thing with the purchasing power of sending their stuff to another company. It's simple as that.
You vote with your wallet, and these days with your eyeballs as well. What you choose to watch with your attention.